Hi there. As you can see by the title of this video, it's labeled as Summoners We Sleep On. And basically what I want to do with this segment, it's going to be like a series. Summoners We Sleep On is going to be talking about players that I think that are underrated, players that don't get recognition for how good they really are, and maybe comparison to star-studded players. And that's basically what I'm going to do with this series. Summoners we sleep on. So um, summoners being like summoners being what the league community is called, the league players are called, and then slept on. That's a pop culture reference, meaning that um, someone is underrated or something is underrated. Slept on. So some people might say, oh, Logic is a very slept on rapper. And that basically means that Logic is underrated. Um, but yeah, that's just an example, though. I don't think that's true. But basically, yeah, that's what I want to do with this segment. And the player that I will be talking about in this video is Pobelter. Pobelter is currently a mid laner for Team Liquid, the 2018 roster. And right now, the 2018 NALCS spring split, we are about to go into playoffs. That's basically, when all the teams ramp up and, these teams have to go into a best of 5 series. And so basically, I just wanted to talk about Pobelter because I think he's a player that a lot of people just haven't given him recognition um, for basically the past couple of years. It's been pretty crazy how he hasn't been seen as a really good player. And I'm guessing the reason why there's that narrative is because he just doesn't have like the big highlights or the flashy plays. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad player. So I wanted to start this video off with kind of not start this video. I basically want to talk about his achievements. He won the NALCS with CLG in the summer split of 2015. So he won that series. He won that split with CLG. They 3-0 TSM. The fact that that team that Pobelter was on at the time 3-0 TSM, NA's juggernaut at one, undisputably NA's best team. By so far by record. The fact that they 3-0 TSM it's pretty crazy. And Bjergsen's on TSM. Bjergsen is basically the best mid laner in North America. And there was a quote that Double F said. I don't have the exact quote, but he basically said something along the lines that during that finals, the 2015 summer finals with TSM, that Bjergsen was basically a non-factor. Doublelift was basically saying that Pobelter went toe to toe with Bjergsen. That Bjergsen didn't feel like a problem anymore, and that was caused from the mid laner Pobelter, at the time. So to me, the fact that Pobelter was just basically able to go toe to toe with a mid laner like Bjergsen, I think that speaks for itself. A lot. Aside from that, he was oddly kicked from CLG at the time. They replaced him with Huhi. Um, I thought that was a weird move. I didn't understand it, you know. So I thought that was weird. So then he joined Immortals in the 2016 roster. He was there for both spring and summer. And in spring, I think they only lost one game in the regular season. And then in summer, they lost like 4, I think. I'm not sure. I can't exactly remember. But I know in the summer split, they didn't do as well, but they still did really good. They were still a dominant team, Immortals. And so, yeah, next year, Pobelter joins a whole new team, has a good amount of success. Sadly, that Immortals roster didn't make it to Worlds. They basically just got slaughtered in playoffs, which was kind of crazy. It was something that just wasn't expected. I didn't understand, and so they didn't make it to Worlds that year, which was unfortunate. I really thought that they were going to make it. Everyone else was shocked that they did not. um, perform well in both playoffs, both spring and summer. So that roster didn't make it to Worlds. Um, Shortly after that roster, the whole roster disbanded. The only player that stood was Pobelter. Hooney at the time was actually going to stay on Immortals with Pobelter, but Immortals let Hooney go so that he let Hooney go out of his contract so that Hooney could pursue a career with SKT as their top laner. You know, everyone wants to join SKT, so that's why Hooney was given the opportunity to get out of his contract. Hold on, sorry about that. Just unplugged my laptop, so okay, there we go. So Hooney was let go of his contract so he could go to SKT, and then Immortals replaced him with Flame, who was basically, in my opinion, a better top laner anyways than Hooney. But aside from that, Pobelter didn't have success with the team in Spring Split, and then once they let go of Dardoch, who is been consistently a problem, excuse me, once they let go of Dardoch after Spring Split, which he's a player that has consistently had his problems with other teams. They got Xmithy. They traded off with CLG at the time, and then during Summer Split, when that Immortals roster had Xmithy, they got rid of Dardoch, no problem anymore. That team did so well that they made it to playoffs. They made it to the finals with TSM, and that's where it ends. They didn't win the split, unfortunately. TSM beat them, but it after that though they did go to Worlds, and that's quite a bit. That's an amazing accomplishment because they didn't even make playoffs in the spring split before. So they didn't make playoffs in spring, but they dominated in summer once they let go of the problem being Dardoch. And Pobelter was in those two situations, and I think that just speaks for itself that he was part of that roster as well that really made the flip. They flipped it. They kind of flipped the script. People thought this Immortals roster probably could have made playoffs in summer, but probably wasn't going to go to Worlds. But they did go to Worlds, and they did it with considerably a weaker roster than 2016's roster. You had Cody Sun, who was a rookie that year. You had Olay, who wasn't really notable for anything, and then you had Xmithy, who also wasn't notable for anything. He was just a solid player, and then you had Flame, who was actually like a beast in the top lane, and then you had Pobelter, who is slept on. No one thinks he's. I feel like a lot of people don't think he's that good at the time. And so after that, they made their Worlds run. They didn't have any success, but no NA team really does, except for maybe Cloud9 if you consider getting groups out of success. But after that, Immortals was let go from the league because of the whole franchising situations. They didn't really release specific details on why, but basically Immortals didn't make the cut when franchising came in. Unfortunate, unexpected, so thus Pobelter being let go from his Immortals contract. A team has to buy out his contract, basically. Not let go, but his contract could get buyed by the Immortals organization. And from there, we had he joined Team Liquid, which is now 2018. He joined Team Liquid, and at this time, Team Liquid was considered basically NA super team. You had Impact in the top lane, who is a former world champion. Then you have Xmithy, who was a notable jungler at this point in time. A lot of people were saying, he's really stepped up. And then you had Doublelift, who is considered by many people the best ADC in North America. And then you had Olay, who was also being notable for his, roaming plays or very unexpected plays, I guess. That seems to be the narrative that they have with Olay. And then you also had Pobelter, who, again, this is a super team. This is NA's version of a super team. This team was built to succeed. This team, a lot of people talked about how much money was spent on this team, and yeah, it looked like a really strong roster. And then again, And yet again, Pobelter is on this roster, a very strong roster. And to me, it just says a lot that Pobelter was the mid laner who made the cut to be with players such as Doublelift, such as Impact, such as Xmithy and Ole at the time, And I also just want to make these points. It seems like he's part of the cores that seem to succeed um, quite well because he was part of the CLG core. Um, he was he was part of the CLG core that had Xmithy, Pobelter, and Doublelift at the time. And then I think that split. That's when Doublelift and Pobelter were cut. That's one core. And now this same core, Xmithy, they weren't the core at the time, but basically Xmithy, Pobelter, Doublelift are now in Team Liquid years later. It's kind of a coincidence, but still. And then we also had him in Immortals, where they had very good regular seasons. Fortunately, they just choked in playoffs. And then again on Immortals for 2017, they didn't, they just didn't do so well spring split, but they still made it to Worlds that next split. They got to Worlds. So basically, another point that I just want to make it seems like Pobelter is just a really good player. I mean, for the past couple of years, the two players that have been, the two players that have been on top is Bjergsen and Jensen, right? For the past couple of years, Bjergsen and Jensen have been on the top. And it just seems like Pobelter is able to consistently keep up with these mid laners, for the most part. He's not notable for like his flashy plays or his mechanics like Jensen and Bjergsen, but it does seem like he's able to go toe to toe with mid laners like Bjergsen and Jensen. Also, he doesn't really have a champion pool limitation. It seems like he can just play whatever they need him to play. We've seen him on all types of champions. He's not someone who is restricted by champion pool. So, with that being said, I think Pobelter is a summoner that we sleep on. And I know Team Liquid for the 2018 spring split has been a bit shaky. This NA super team has not been as good as it was expected to be. But the whole best of one situation, it seems like best of ones is like a kind of kryptonite. I'm not really sure. I haven't been following the league for that long. It's only been like 2 years. So this is the first time I've seen best of one series. So now they're going to get into playoffs, which is best of 5, best out of 3. Could be a 5-game series. So I'm really expecting for Pobelter to make a resurgence in this series because he's a very consistent and solid player, and he does not have a limited champion pool. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know, and feel free to comment what you think, whether you think Pobelter is underrated, or some of you may think he's not that good as the other mid laners. So let me know what you guys think, but this is my argument on why Pobelter is a summoner that we sleep on. Have a nice day, everyone.